They always think I'm Darius Rucker. It's like, oh, there's Hootie. No, this is not Hootie.
He may not be Hootie, but Brian Johnson, better known as BJ the Dreamer, is getting intentional.
Once you know who you are, that goes back to intention. And I live by that model.
Getting personal.
My mother didn't even know what I had gone through until she read the book.
Getting to the heart of what really matters.
We don't know who we are. We don't know why we're here. We don't know what we're meant to do.
And getting down to business.
I don't tell a lot of people this, but I'll tell you this exclusively here on the show. That's when everything changes.
On an all-new Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. This is Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. Hi, Brian. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. I am really excited and honored to have you here today talking to me and sharing all the amazing things you are doing in this world.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's an honor. Like you said, when we were talking in the pre-session, I think it's been about 10 years since we last talked, since we last spoke.
Yeah.
So gratitude to you. Thanks to you for being in this space. I know it's a very rewarding and fulfilling space, and I know what it really takes to really go here and talk about intention. It's very deep. It's very personal. So kudos to you for creating a space and having so many wonderful people on, and for allowing myself to come on.
Well, like you said, 10 years, at least 10 years have passed. I was kind of trying to do the math. I had to go back to my resume and look, we worked together on Arsenio, and that was a really short blip. That show didn't last very long. I don't even think we made the full season with it, but I just remember sitting there, and you were one of the bright lights. It was a chaotic show, and you were one of the bright lights, one of the brightest people that came out of that for me, because 10 years later, when I embarked on this journey, all I could think of was, I have to talk to you. You've done so much. I think that is when you were starting to write your book. Is that correct? Or you were just getting it done?
No, I was working on the book in 2013.
And what led you to do that? 2013.
2013. So, it was a calling. It was my intention. It's my purpose. It's what I'm supposed to be doing. It's one of the things in that particular season that I was very aware of. I speak, I coach, and I just always had this feeling and this yearn to want to help people. And I knew that I had a story and a message that I wanted to share. I moved out to Los Angeles with $325 in a red suitcase and started figuring out my way, and had a lot of challenges and setbacks prior to that. And I thought that I could just take that story and craft it in a way to frame it in a way that would help and serve other people. And so when you think about the notion, live your dreams, it's just a very cliche term. And I think story combined with some actual steps of how if you have a dream, if you're an entrepreneur or creative space and you have this dream, well, I figured out some things. And so I wanted to put that together in a book. I pushed it out, and the book just changed my life.
Well, what was your dream? What was your dream at that time? You moving out to Hollywood and making it there? Or did something occur that really actually made you reconsider what that dream was and what your true purpose was?
Yeah, the dream was always to inspire people. I think that was the foundation and the fundamental. And when you think about the root word inspire, that means to be in spirit, which you're closer to God. And I think it's more about leading people closer to God or closer to universe, to source, to find out who you really are. Because I think a lot of us, we're not really truly intentional about understanding who we are. We're just living. We're just existing and not really living. And so for me, I had a setback where I went through a very deep depression period, and, was completely homeless, and went through a bad breakup, and thought about taking my life at one particular time in 2011. And so just navigating out of that experience and coming out of it on the other side, I feel like my story was really powerful. And being an African American, realizing that we don't talk about these issues and these challenges in our community and what affect us, and we just keep things inward. And, I was so embarrassed and so scared to even share how I was feeling. My mother didn't even know what I had gone through until she read the book. And, it truly broke her heart, just to see her son, really trying to push through and, take this dream. And for me, it was, like I said, the root of it was to inspire people, but more importantly, write books, coach, consult, speak, host podcasts, do all those things, be a host. And so while I was on the Arsenio Hall show, working with talent and celebrities, I was really just studying them as much as I could. I wanted to be more aligned to see how they went about doing what they did. and to work with individuals who were very intentional to get to the highest level. It was a part of the goal and the strategy. And I got a chance to do it. I got a chance to meet you. So it was a lovely time and a lovely period. But more importantly, it was the connecting piece to what I needed before I wrote that book. I'll say that.
Well, I think a lot of things came up with just that. First of all, how did you get out of such a dark space? I've dealt with depression and anxiety myself. I've gone through years of therapy, and it's not always easy. And sometimes from the outside, like you said, your mom didn't even know. How did you bring yourself out of that? What was your mindset? Like, what led you to really realizing, I have a bigger purpose here? This isn't it for me.
The truth of the matter is that my great-grandparents who took part in raising me were born in 1916 and 1918. I grew up in a very spiritual house. I had a very, great spiritual foundation. And so during that period of time, like, I knew I needed to get back and connect to the roots of the spiritual essence of who I am as a person, but more importantly, turn and devote myself to God. I feel like for us as individuals, a lot of times when there's chaos in our lives, we don't have anything that anchors us. We don't really have that spiritual anchor. And so my spiritual anchor, I've always just leaned on my faith and just God, and completely in that moment when there was utterly chaos and I felt inside, I just wanted to numb myself. I mean, I was drinking like crazy. I was just trying to find ways to ease the pain. I just wanted to ease the pain. And I just fully surrendered to God in that moment. And I started from there and started being really intentional about what I listened to, what I ate, what I consumed, like my whole environment. I had to completely change everything. And I didn't even go, there was no therapist or anything that I went to. It was really about me finding out, number one, who am I? Who am I? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? I really started doing the work and asking myself these questions. So it was a spiritual journey. And in that spiritual journey, like, I started watching more Tony Robbins and Brennan Burchard and people like that really had, and then I was like, I'm going to work with these people one day. I'm going to see these people. I'm going to tell them thank you. And, watching Will Smith and The Pursuit of Happiness and like all this stuff, like I just created this ecosystem to change my mindset. That was that was the biggest thing, to change my mindset. So that's what I did. And to this day, anybody that I coach, I've created a system of what I think would work. I'm not a therapist, but I've had a lot of life therapy work. So I'm able to really share those impressions and those beats and those moments and those pulses of life with those that I'm working with every single day.
So it's really just feeding your soul, feeding your spirit, coming back to that all-knowing, getting simple and really understanding who you are. I think it is really easy for a lot of us to just continue to exist, like you said, and go through a career or a path that has been prescribed for us or that we've that we've gotten used to. And it's a little bit uncomfortable to understand who we are on the inside. And especially a lot of times, I would say we don't actually have the courage to step into the knowing of who we are until something happens, until we're faced with something big in our life. Like you said, your depression, you had your rock bottom moment, essentially. I don't think it has to be that drastic for everyone, but we're all going to have it at some point if you want to grow and change, because change and growth is uncomfortable. There has to be something to push you to want to do that. Is that what you see with the people you coach?
100%. 100%. And you hit it dead on the head. It's always, there has to be a life event, something professionally that happens for you to trigger to get things going in action. And what I try to coach against is like, hey, let's not wait. And at some point in time, and I don't want to get all morbid here, but the truth of the matter is at some point in time, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. And it's like, while you're here, why not make the best of it? And every single day that you wake up is a gift. Like every day that you wake up, that is a gift. And so many people don't follow the who am I, why am I here, and what am I meant to do? It's like the who, why, what. Who am I? I know so many people that don't even ask themselves that question. Like, we don't know who we are. We don't know why we're here. We don't know what we're meant to do. And so we just wait until something turbulent happens and comes into our lives and completely derails us and takes us off the unbeaten path before we really start to go within. So that's why I love this podcast and what you're doing in this show, because it's truly about being intentional about who you are as a person
Yes.
and putting these vibrations out to let you know that you don't need to wait. You have to do the work on yourself constantly, every day.
Well, and I think it's something that constantly evolves, because even when I started on this path a year ago with this company that I've created, it kind of stepped into it. I'd always been spiritual. But it was kind of private. I didn't grow up in a religious home or a spiritual home, for that matter. It was something I always believed in, more on the universe and spiritual side. I believed in God, but I didn't know what that meant to me because it wasn't openly talked about for me until, and then it took me a little bit of time to step into it and own it. And that is one thing I do see with a lot of people in this space, or even in any space for that matter. When you find successful people, when you talk to them and you find out what has gotten them to where they are, it always, always comes back to faith and an inner knowing, your intuition, your voice, and something bigger than you. And that is another part of something you just said a little bit ago that I wanted to ask you about, because you said you studied, and I know you did because I knew you were in the talent department with Arsenio. You worked with all of these very successful, big name people who are at the top of their game, and you studied them. So do you see that as a through line for people that become successful or live their dreams? Is that connection to something bigger?
Yeah, I 100%. It's such a great question. I really believe that if you really want what we deem to be success is not just about the money. Success is really knowing who you are and what you're meant to do. Like, if you understand that, and you understand when life's hurdles come at you, like if you really want to go down that path, like you can. And I've realized with everybody that I've worked with, everybody has not only just gone through something, they've grown through something. And life, that's life. We don't go through anything. So we have to reframe the narrative. We don't go through anything. We grow through everything. And so just like purpose, we as human beings are always evolving as human beings. So because we're always evolving, our purpose may evolve, because you may be deeply rooted and understand something about who you are. But as you evolve, as you get new experiences, as you're introduced to new people and new things, and you're put in situations and you grow through things, your purpose evolves because you evolve. So yes, everybody that I've worked with, everybody that I've coached, most times people that come to me that I coach is because they've grown through something. They're in a space where right now they really do need some help. They're seeking that out, but something has happened. And then a lot of successful people that I work with, quote unquote successful, they're not happy, because a lot of them don't even know who they are. They had a talent that got them to be where they are, but they don't know who they are. So they're not fulfilled because they got all the money in the world, but they're lacking that inner fulfillment, and they don't understand like how to be intentional about making that change and that pivot to really go deep within.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I talked to my mentor about that a lot. She mentors some extremely, what people would say are very successful people. And she says they're some of the most miserable people half the time because they don't really know who they are within. And I think that has been part of my journey too, is you are given a gift. I have a gift of writing, and I was kind of denying that. And then bringing into this spiritual world and this space, how do you combine that all? So sometimes you're given a gift, like you're talking about these celebrities or these actors or whoever it may be, and they follow that gift and they reach the height of that gift, but they're unfulfilled. So how do you find a way to combine your gift? Because it is a gift. A great actor, Will Smith, has a gift. I personally, I have the gift to write. But I am connecting that now, and it has been a journey, connecting that to this other side, this all-knowing, bigger purpose, bigger side. And it's now coming all together. So how would you help other people do that? Connect those two things.
Yeah, so I think you have purpose at the top, and I think you have passions. You have all these verticals of passion. And I think the gift lies within the passions. And I've heard Steve Harvey say, your gift is the thing that you do with the least amount of effort, like the greatest, like however you choose it, like that's your gift. I think the gift falls in the verticals of the passions. And what I will say is that as long as you're working those passions, like you're working those passions and that gift is somehow aligned with those, you're always working in purpose, because those passions will evolve, those gifts will evolve, and the purpose will be the thing that oversees that. So I think for a lot of people, if you truly have a gift, and sometimes, like, for example, you said writing was your gift. You probably was running away from the gift because it's something that you did easily. It came to you easily, but you just didn't tie it together with intention or something else that you could do to truly help and serve people. And I think a lot of times we make things about ourselves, and it's really not about us. Like, life is not about us. Life is about service and about being in gratitude and about love. And so at the end of the day, if you truly understand your gift, stop thinking everything is about you. Everything is not about you. Your gift was given to you to help serve somebody else. And so if you reframe it in that way and stop thinking along the lines of like, oh, this is my gift, like I don't really have to do something. No, your gift was given to you to use to help somebody else.
So how do we spread that message? How do we adopt this idea of service? Because I think that is one of the biggest points you just made. And I will say that is one thing I talk with my mentor about quite a bit, is she doesn't care what people say about her. You know, so many of us are addicted to the follows and the likes or what you're doing or other people's opinions. And she doesn't care because she's in service of God. She works for God. That is her mission. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. And because of that, she is great at what she does. She has a lot of success. It doesn't matter. She's walked away from it before. It is all about in service of God and others. So how do you find that service? Like, how do you find your purpose?
I think it's about taking inventory of yourself. You have to truly do an audit on yourself and take full inventory and strip yourself down completely to get to the root and the foundation. When you're getting ready to remodel a house, sometimes that house is completely stripped down. You have to strip everything down and remodel your life and go in a different direction. And I think a lot of times it's hard because we have these things that we're so comfortable with. Well, it's time for you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, you got to get uncomfortable, and it's not going to be easy. And a lot of times we just get into these comfortable spaces in life and we don't want to move until something happens. So not only do you keep listening to Intentional Living with Courtney, but it's something that you have to create this ecosystem for yourself to strip yourself down, to ask yourself these questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what am I supposed to do? How does my gift, how do I truly take my gift and give it out to the world? How do I not misuse my gift? How do I lean more into my gift? How can I stop making things about me and allow my gift to serve other people? And I think it's the inventory. And those are the questions that you would ask yourself along that. But I think it's truly about taking inventory of yourself and doing a personal audit and like really being intentional. Once you understand who you are, why you're here, and what you're meant to do, I think those three questions may be the most important questions that a person can ask themselves, because that really aids into the foundation. Because once you know who you are, that goes back to intention. That goes back to show why you're showing up, who you're showing up for, what you're doing it for. And I live by that motto. I truly live, and I love the word intention. That's why when I saw that you were doing this show and just talking about intentional living, like, like that is so beautiful, because at the end of the day, when it comes to life, if you're not intentional and you're just living out here in chaos, it's going to be hard for you. And what I do realize is that on the spiritual realm, you have God is singular. You have legion, which is many. And so God being singular, it's like if you're singular focused on you and the intention of who you are versus being scattered with all these ideas and thoughts, that's more of the legion space. Be more in the God space. And that's what I really lean on, and that's what I refer to. And that's my answer to the question.
Well, I think it's really getting focused, finding that focus on that service, like you said, but also coming back to bringing in your mindset and what you were talking about, creating this ecosystem. I think that is really important, because there is so much noise. And I know a lot of people talk about that. all the noise that surrounds us. I mean, I was very guilty about it, having the news on all the time and curate, you know, you need to curate your social media and things like that. I feel almost like I'm disconnected a bit more now because it's not as prominent in my life anymore. I'm not watching it as much on purpose. I'm intentionally not doing that. I'm intentionally filling my feeds on social media with people like the Brendon Burchards, like you talked about, with the Tony Robbins, with people that are on that vibrational plane. Because when you can fill your head, your mind, your energy with that sort of vibration, you vibrate at a higher level, and you could help bring that service to all those you come in contact with, which I think is key. Is raising your vibration will benefit others. It just expands to other people. Having conversations like this opens up the door for other people.
I'll give you a prime example. So in the middle of launching a podcast that I was going to start, I got introduced to Jay Shetty, who's now a friend of mine. And so Jay was getting ready to launch his podcast. And for me, I really stopped down in that moment because my gift is connection. Like one of my gifts is connecting with people. Talent department, Arsenio, connection, right? Relationships. And so I started utilizing my relationships to try to help him book his podcast, although I was doing my own thing. And so it became the selfless nature of my gift to truly be in service to help somebody else. And so not only was it helping somebody else, it was showing that and demonstrating to him, I don't need your money. It's really about, I'm going to help you. And at some point, like, you know, if you want to say it's reciprocity in some aspect, it will pay off in dividends, maybe not with him directly, but just in another way. And so we can utilize our gifts in those ways. And so I helped him book a few people on his show. And in turn, he helped me do some stuff too as well. But you have to utilize your gift and be selfless. You know, like it's really about being selfless and stop prioritizing you. And I think when you take your gift, like I said, and going back to allowing your gift to be in service and not making everything about you, that's when everything changes.
I love that you said that, because anyone would look at that connection with Jay Shetty as like, what can I get out of this? How am I going to get something from this? And instead, you approached it from a place of, let me help you. And in return, you will receive, because there is enough to go around. As a writer, as someone who has been working in Hollywood for a long time, you know, it is hard not to be competitive. It is hard not to watch other people get their book published or get this opportunity or get that podcast and be like, why isn't it me, not me? Why isn't it my time? But we have to refrain from thinking that way, because it is enough. There's enough for us all. We are all needed. We are all needed to spread this word. We are all needed to have a platform, because there's too many people who are disconnected.
100%. And that's why I love what you're doing here, because it's the vibration that we need. We need more of this and less of the other stuff, because as we've gotten to the space with influencers and social media, and everybody wants to be on their phone, and so many people are disconnected from reality, and so many people aren't in tune with who they are. And so we live in this microwave society where everybody wants everything instantly, because I'm from the age where encyclopedias, like there was no internet, no none of that, right? So but I've seen that now, like I can also be accustomed to wanting things instantly. I mean, you literally can go to your phone right now and pick up and search anything that you want to in the world. I mean, 20 years ago, you couldn't do this, right? And so I just think that our vibration, intentional living with Courtney, something like this, studying more of this, because I don't know if you know this, but like, I think by the year 2030, there are going to be more people in therapy for disconnecting from their phone and social media than anything. Like that's already a thing that's happening. So many people are so obsessed with their phone, they can't disconnect. So that new form of therapy is already happening. So they're not being truly intentional with who they are and what they should be doing, you know?
That's interesting. I mean, it's that whole concept of becoming present. And I find myself not even being able to be present sometimes, because I'm constantly, you can work from your phone. You can do all this from your phone. I have two very young kids, and I'm a person who's like, I want to be working and creating nonstop. My mind, like if I'm just sitting around, and my kids are very young. Harper's about to be 4 and Hayden just turned 2. So they require a lot of attention, and it becomes draining for me, because I want to create, I want to do. So I find myself on my phone doing this a lot. But then when I'm doing that, I'm not present, and we need to get present. And that getting present will help us connect to our purpose, will help us connect to the creator, will help us connect to your source, universe, God. I say this all the time. I don't care what you call it, as long as you call on it. That's my little phrase. Just believe, have faith in it, call on it. And so we have to get present. So that doesn't shock me. And we need to rewire our thinking and rewiring how we interact in this world and rewire a lot of different aspects of it. And I think that's a huge part of it. Set down the phone and get present.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I can keep this as very simple. And like I said, that's why I love what you're doing. It's truly, really about being intentional. And we don't have to go across the board. It's about really being intentional. And once you understand that, and I don't know if you're writing a book on this, if you're working on this, but I would be interested to see, just out of all the people that you've interviewed, your whole life experience, the framework that you could create for your book, for your message of being intentional. And I think the perspective is skewed, but at the same time, there's a lot of parallels to what it is that we all say, because at the end of the day, everybody has their own life experience. And that's what makes life so beautiful. That's what makes this show so beautiful, is that you can talk to people from all different facets of the world. And if you go back to the sheer essence of what this is, it's the intention that you're placing to find the people, the right people, to raise the vibration and the true conscience of human beings. And I think that's what's the most important thing. So kudos to you and for establishing these conversations and having us on, and taking intention and really breaking it down and creating, spaces for us to be able to have this dialogue.
Well, like you were even saying, it's life experience, and how you're bringing your life experience to the world. You talk about this with your programs of helping people write books. Why do you think that is so important to get back to that concept of writing? Because I obviously strongly believe in the writing, but I know you're really big on, you need to write your story.
Yeah, because it changed my life. I'm not just out here, just telling people to do something just because. It is a business vertical of mine and something that I'm starting to scale more of. But I've been helping and coaching people for the last 9 years of how to go about self-publishing your book, realizing that your book is a marketing asset. It is something that lives in perpetuity, that will outlive you. When you want to talk about legacy, your book will sustain in the ecosystem as long as life is around, whether it's in print form, audible form, digital form, it will sustain. And so when you think about your story, your message, and you talk about the gift, sometimes your gift is your story, is your experience. And sometimes I believe fundamentally in life, God chose you to be the person, to be the conduit to go through it, because you can do it. So you were the conduit to go through it. So that you could share that story and that message or that expertise with somebody who really needs it. And so just thinking about the origin of books and creation and how long books have been around, I'm just really, really inspired to show people hey, this is a way, this is a process for something that you can do. And if you're a coach, you're a consultant, you want to be a thought leader, you're in this space that is so nuanced and new age, so to speak. A book is probably the quickest way for you to position yourself and share your story, your expertise, into the marketplace. Because if you think about it, when a president comes out of office, there are two things that they really focus on. And it's where their library is going to be and when are they going to write their book? It's the book, it's the prestige of a book. And so because the self-publishing world or the publishing world has changed and made it so easy for you to self-publish your book, I found that it's not about me just showing you how to self-publish your book. It's really showing you how to build a business with your book, to use that. And, I've done nearly 500K in just coaching and consulting. And I don't even sell my book anymore. I don't sell this book. It's more so about the outcome of what the book has done for me now. And so just giving people that game and showing people that. And so now I'm coaching people literally all over the world how to go about doing this.
So do you think we're coming back to an era of where the book is popular? Do you think we're coming back to that? I actually think I heard someone the other day say there were more bookstores maybe they were in LA and they went to a bookstore and it was packed to the brim and they were so happy to see the number of people there. And I feel like everyone has a book now. Everyone's coming out. Everyone who's a who's who of anything is coming out with a book. Now I'm a ghostwriter, so I know the secrets of kind of writing it for someone else. But I feel like everyone has that book. And do you think there's something coming back with that? Do you think we're getting back to the simplicity of having a book again?
Absolutely, I do. And I'll also say to you is that maybe because you're in the world and you're in the space, it can seem as if like it's everybody, but in the truth, it may be very small. To the outside world, it may be very small, but I do think we're getting back to that. I do think because individuals like yourself are creating these spaces and these lanes, and people are starting to learn more about themselves. Ever since the pandemic in 2020, book sales have been through the roof. I mean, if you go to Barnes and Nobles and talk, I've interviewed managers and they talked about just the personal development, spirituality space. Those spaces really skyrocketed during the pandemic. It's because people were seeing something that they've never seen. They were experiencing something they've never been a part of. And you start to question your own demise. You start to question so much. And so you start going within and you start being more intentional about that. And so I just think the book space is growing. I mean, you have so many shows now, or so many platforms, should I say, Audible and different ways for us to hear stories. So if you're on the treadmill and you want to hear somebody's story in their book, I mean, you can literally just sit there and listen to a book and be done with the book in a few days. So I do think it's coming back. And I love the business. A lot of people are in this space and they are ready to share their story and they're ready to get out there. And I have a lot of knowledge of how to go about doing that, but more importantly, how to turn this into a marketing asset and to scale it for your business.
Well, I think also what you said right there was really big is that during the pandemic, because that's when my shift happened to fully go completely into this, get away from what I was doing and go into this space. But I think it was building. I think it's been building. And I think maybe that was the tipping point. And it's something I've talked about a lot with a lot of my spiritual guests on the show and in my own coaching and mentoring is that we are now experiencing a shift in consciousness back to this divine feminine, back to the all-knowing, back to coming into one with the greater good and the greater knowing. And it all kind of tipped over around the pandemic, which I think, did you see that with a lot of that going within? You know, if book sales and things, this is a huge industry of the self-help and wanting to the spiritual world. I don't think it's a coincidence.
No, not at all. During the pandemic is when I was the busiest. You know, people actually had the time to be more intentional about focusing on themselves, to really go within, and who had the resources to really push this out, but understood, like, I don't know what's going on in this world. I've never seen anything like this. So maybe I should focus on sharing my story or my expertise and like trying to figure out how to push this out there. So I was really super busy during the pandemic. I had the most clients ever. And just from that, like the remnants and the debris of that energy that was being pushed out there, I think there's just been a continuum of like the rays of consciousness and people wanting to vibrate higher and people understanding that, you know, we're getting older. We got access to more information about what's possible, about what we need to know. We're seeing a very diverse set of ways. You got the negative side, you got the positive side. And I think the positive side is getting its just due right now. Like you said, we're returning to the divine feminine. Like there's such a shift right now amongst culture. There's so many celebrities that are now like being more in the mindfulness space, that are more in the manifestation space, that are more in the spirituality space, and not just talking about the same traditional rhetoric of the things that we've talked about before. So there's a true shift in consciousness right now. And I'm just glad to see that people are writing books, people are creating podcasts, people are creating courses, people are becoming coaches. They're finding ways to take that vibration and raise that level of consciousness through different mediums and verticals that we all, you know, should be taking part of.
Yeah, I mean, I will say definitely, even when you mentioned the whole celebrity aspect of talking about it, I don't think I even realized, and I was in the industry with you for a very long time, how many people actually came back to that spiritual aspect until recently. All of a sudden, you start hearing interviews and people talking about it. So it is a zeitgeist as my mentor says, it's the zeitgeist right now, is this return to spirituality, the raising of the consciousness. It's always been there, but it is, you can feel the shift. Things are changing in that direction. So with that in mind, tell me about your program and Live Your Dreams Out Loud. What is that about?
So Live Your Dreams Out Loud is actually the name of my company. It's the name of my book. Live Your Dreams Out Loud. I wrote this in the sense where when it comes to live, what is life about? Like, what is life truly about? And how should you be living? Who are you? That's what, that means. Like, who are you? And then dreams, what is your dream? So now that you know what life is about, you know who you are, you know what your dreams are, out loud is the expression and it's the vibration that you should be doing and that you should be living. It's the action steps. And so I wrote that and I created my own framework in the 6 steps. And so from that book opened up to so much. It opened up the lane of speaking more. It opened up the lane of coaching and consulting. It opened up the lane to doing more media and podcasts and interviews and things of that nature. So now I just really truly focused on, growing and scaling my coaching business and helping other entrepreneurs, business owners, and thought leaders and creatives who really want to write a book. And so that is what Live Your Dreams Out Loud is right now. We're like, that is my sole focus. I'm only focused on placing out good energy in the world. But truly, my business aspect is taking my book, my knowledge, all the things that I've coached and helped people with, and helping coaches and consultants and entrepreneurs scale their business with the book. That's my sole focus. That's everything that I'm focused on right now. So the program is like, we have a do it yourself, we have a done with you, and then we have a done for you. And they're all at different price tiers, just depending on where you come in. So that's the thing. And you're going to see me all over the internet as of, coming up pretty soon, because we're doing a lot of advertisements and running a lot of ads and putting a lot of good energy out there and just showing people what's possible.
Well, the out loud part, I kind of want to focus on that because, we can get in touch with who we are. We can start to learn what our purpose is. But how do you find the courage to put it out there? How do you get past the fear of actually showing up as who you are in the most authentic way and put your dream out there? Because it's not easy. It's not always easy to do that.
No, you just got to put one foot in front of the other, and it sounds very cliche. And the truth of the matter is, you just have to do it. You just have to do it. There can't be no ands, if, and buts about it. When it comes to excuses, the definition of excuses not the definition, but this famous quote is that excuses are tools of the incompetent that build monuments of nothingness. Those that use them seldomly will accomplish anything. So excuses are tools of the incompetent that build monuments of nothingness. Those that use them seldomly will accomplish anything. So if your excuse is, I don't have the money right now. I don't like the way that I look, or I don't like what's going on in my family life, or I don't like what's going on in my job. You're never going to make it happen because you have all of these excuses that's preventing you from getting there. And you're going to build these monuments of nothingness, and you're not going to accomplish anything. So you just have to get started. And sometimes it's about taking micro steps. Like I even say to people sometimes, like, you got to change your environment in a sense where if you're coming home from work, maybe take a different route. It's time for you to start unlocking the creativity and get out of your routine of doing things the way that you would normally do, because you have to take this step and you have to take this leap. And so, of course, I got this framework, and the framework of living your dreams out loud is, finding more clarity, being more committed, connecting more with yourself and with others, being more competent about who you are and what you're doing, conditioning your mind, your body, and your soul, and then having the cash flow to do all of this. And that's the true essential of like what this book is, and that's why I wrote it. And it's the 6 steps. Like, this is the out loud expression of how you go about taking the steps. And taking the step is like, really, like I said, just putting one foot in front of the other and just getting started. You don't have to have everything together. You don't have to have all the money. I even tell those that come into my coaching program with our book, and I'll give you this. I don't tell a lot of people this, but I'll tell you this exclusively here on the show. What we do is, anybody that comes in with me to coach them, to help them write their book, we start pre-selling your book before your book is written. We don't wait. We don't wait. I say if you're going to a concert and that concert 6 months from now, you pre-order tickets, don't you? You buy tickets in advance. Well, it's the same with your book, because you know what that does? It does a few things. One is it creates the momentum for you to like, oh shit, I got to go do the work. Like I really got to show up and I really got to go do the work. And then two, it starts to generate some revenue for you. And then like once you start to see money coming in, you start to see people, oh wow, like I'm pre-selling my book. People are starting to feel this. And sometimes you just need that inner reassurance that what you're doing is the right thing. So you just have to get started and you have to find a way. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pretty. Just get started.
I love that. I mean, even going back full circle to the beginning of the conversation, you did that. You made a step. You moved out to Hollywood with a suitcase and how $300 and something in the bank. My husband did that same thing ages ago when he left Oregon and moved to San Diego. You know, he had his car. He slept in his car for a little bit. He had roommates, you know, whatever he could do. Because it was just like he had to make a change. He had to make that move. We just picked up at the end of 2 years. We're coming up, a year and a half now. And just left California, left everyone we knew, picked up, sold everything, and moved to Tennessee because it's just, we needed to do it. We didn't have it all figured out. You don't have it all figured out always. You just have to do it. And that is key. And when you start to do it, that fear diminishes. Those little steps help you overcome that fear, I would think.
100%. And find somebody that's already done it. Like, don't reinvent the wheel. You know, like when I got ready to move out to LA, I had no money, but I found somebody that had already been successful at what it was that I wanted to accomplish. And then I decided to reach out to them and say, hey, listen, can I help you? So it goes back to that whole service. It goes back to that whole gift element. You don't have to go at this journey alone. Like it is a lonely journey. And trust me, in this particular world, whether it doesn't have to be the same exact thing, somebody has already done what it is that you're looking to do. So just find that person, seek them out, add value to them, see how you can truly help them with what your gift is, because that may be the missing element that's going to take them, their life and their business to another level. And maybe you got that gift and maybe they can help you in exchange. And so just find somebody that's already been successful at what it is that you're looking to do, because a lot of times we get caught up in our head and we're so in our head. We don't have coaches. We don't have a mentor. We don't have no blueprint, no guide. And we just try to go at this thing alone. And then you end up making all these mistakes, and you can shorten these mistakes if you just find a mentor. And in my book, I talk about direct mentors and indirect mentors. A direct mentor is somebody that you actually invest into, who is actually coaching you in some kind of way, even if there's a monetary exchange or a non-monetary exchange, but it's a direct relationship. But the indirect mentors are those people that you may be learning from YouTube. It may be people that you may be studying a course from. And so it's important for you to create that ecosystem to help aid you with taking the necessary steps to get started, to explore that gift, to really open up those lanes of that passion, and to really fully be living in purpose and with intention.
I love that. I love that. I have my mentor. My husband had a coach. He's working on another mentor at this moment, but you don't always have to go there. There's so many different ways to learn and to get mentorship. Building a business, building a media company, which we're doing, a publishing house, things like that. I love that you're involved with self-publishing, because we always talk about this as be like Jay-Z, own your stuff. Own your, don't go to the publishing house all the time. You want to own why is the word escaping me at this moment? But like own your songs, own it. And so we can find these mentorships. Yeah, masters. There you go. Like the whole word was just escaping me. We can find these mentorships and just, watching these successful people and where they have come from and what they have done. They leave nuggets. Jay-Z leaves nuggets along the way. They'll tell you. Most people will tell you what they're doing and how to do it because they don't believe you're actually going to do it.
Yes.
So very.
Wait, are you a big Jay-Z fan?
My husband is a huge hip hop fan. My son is wearing, I think every other shirt he has, it has Biggie or Tupac or Jay-Z or something on it. Half of the books in our house are written on that stuff. He's a very big, he played basketball for many years. So we got a lot of, my daughter runs around the house beatboxing. She's 4. I don't know where she get yeah. So we got a lot of that going on here. And then here we are living in Nashville and Countryland. I'm like, we're going to have to bring some jelly roll into this and mix it up too. So, yeah.
Listen, anytime I come to Nashville and when I go to Second Avenue, I've filmed down there a bunch of times. They always think I'm Darius Rucker or his little brother or something,
Oh my goodness.
It's like, oh, there's Hootie. No, this is not Hootie. It's not Hootie. So that's amazing. I'm a big Jay-Z fan. And I love, like you said, the reference of, until you own your own, you're not free. And so I love that whole notion and that vibration for sure is something that I subscribe to 100%.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And so now, also, aside from the book, are you still doing your podcast, and you're doing another podcast with the NBA? Is that correct?
No, so soon. So the podcast with the NBA is not happening anymore. So what I'm going to be doing soon is just creating, we don't know if it's going to be a bi-weekly show or if I'm going to do a daily show. And the daily show is just about business and life and spirituality and interviewing and finding those individuals that I've been able to connect with across the world and just raise, the vibration. It's exactly along the lines of, the energy that you're putting out right now. And I'm building a media company. I'm taking everything that I've learned. And I realized that a lot of people in the media company, well, in business, and I'll just give this nugget real quick. When it comes to business, sometimes when you're building things, you don't have a product to sell, or you don't have residual or recurring revenue. If you don't have residual recurring revenue, and I'm not just talking about you just having a contract with somebody. I'm talking about true things that you put in place to really grow and scale your business. And so what I realized is that I kept running away from coaching people on how to truly launch their books. And so my gift to my business was the knowledge that I had really coaching people how to take this asset and really grow and scale your business. And so when I got singular focused on that, that's when everything else started to change. So that was the nucleus to it all. And so that now that this nucleus is getting to I understand what it is, I can branch off and have the other elements that I want to incorporate to really grow and scale this. But I'm really taking this and creating a true business model behind it. And that will sustain, because a show, it may take some time for I'm able to truly scale that and get revenue from it. There may be some things that I do it just may not take off as fast. And maybe the education that I'm doing will keep this company afloat. And I just think that's just important for anybody that's in business. Just understand, if you got that one thing or that one service or that one product that you can really scale, lean into that. There are other things that you want to do. Sure, I get it. But really solidify that and get that going so that you can diversify as much as you can, So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Completely. Well, some of the advice I've been working with, getting hooked up with some people over at Brand Builders who do that. They bring you down to the core. It brings you down to the nucleus. Like you said, I think even they talk about with Lewis Howes, whose podcast is huge. He had, 13 different revenue streams at one point. And they're like, no, get rid of those. Let's get down to what your core is. And your core was your podcast. He did that and had exponential growth past that. So if we can bring it back to the nucleus, it's just like ourselves, bringing ourselves back to our core, bringing yourself back to your soul, bringing yourself back to who you are within. Then you can expand into all these different areas, but we have to start within. Business, person, any which way. We're coming full circle. We have to come and start within.
100%. I love that. I love it. 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Well, okay. How can we find you? Tell me where we can find coaching or book services or all the good stuff online, on social. Give me all the details.
Everything is BJ the Dreamer. Everything is BJ the Dreamer on Instagram, on my Facebook page, on my TikTok. There's information. There's a link there. If you want to work with me and schedule a call, we'll pre-qualify to see if we're a great fit. If not, I put out a lot of great educational content that people can always go and reference. So that's the space that I'm in, and I'm just vibrating there. But listen, I am so proud of you for creating this medium and this platform to be able to allow individuals like myself from all different walks of life come on and truly be intentional about sharing our stories and our messages and the things that we're doing in this life. And, you know, just keep at it. I'm always here for you if you need any support whatsoever. But I'm telling you, I know what it takes. I don't have kids and a family. I'm not married, but I do understand what it takes to really, truly build something. And the fact of the matter that you're doing it with all of that, I'm just saying kudos to you and your husband. And I'm just proud of you. I'm really, truly proud of you and glad that you're doing this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know you've done this, and I just love being able to talk to people who have done this and to reconnect. There's certain people that are coming up in my mind that it's not like we were close on Arsenio, but I remembered you. You left an impression on me. Your energy was always amazing. You just were someone that I just really looked forward to. It was a hard time for me. That show was a difficult show. There was a lot that went on into it behind the scenes. And you were a very bright light. And I'm just really thankful that we got this opportunity to talk. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
And that's it for this week's episode of Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Brian, for joining me in such a great conversation about finding clarity, reconnecting to your purpose, and living with intention. I'll put information of how to get in touch and work with Brian in the show notes. And you can find intentional media and everything we're doing at CourtneyMyers.com. Next week, we'll be talking to Amber Baker, the Malibu Medium. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.